What's going on, guys? This is a video I wanted to make. It's a first impression of Chance the Rapper's The Big Day. So I haven't done a first impression video in a while. I've been busy with this move cross country. I'm actually not in my new studio yet. I'm still in my sublet. So I wanted to make a quick little video on my phone to give you guys my thoughts on The Big Day. There's not going to be any edits in this video. It's going to be all stream of consciousness, but I do have some notes written that I will be referring to. This is where the intro would go do 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 do, but I don't have it because I'm not editing, so just use your imagination. This is going to be a little more disjointed. It's not going to be edited like I said, so let's just kind of dive into it. I wanted to give my first thoughts. I just listened to the album. A little backstory: Chance the Rapper is one of my favorite rappers. He's everyone's favorite rapper. He's amazing. He's very positive. He's very talented. He does a lot for his community, and he's just extremely likable. So all these factors put together, 10 Day was a great debut mixtape, and then Acid Rap was kind of where he blew onto the scene, and everyone really began just like kind of stan Chance as like an amazing artist. And then Coloring Book was his breakthrough into the mainstream, where most people who hadn't heard of Chance because they're not huge hip-hop fans, whatever it may be, they heard of Chance and they were like, this is amazing, and there were radio hits and all that jazz. That being said, it's been a long wait for The Big Day, which is his first studio album, because all of the previous albums were effectively mixtapes. This is what he's considering his first studio LP. So there's a lot riding on this, and a lot of people were really excited to see what direction it would take sonically and, you know, how his sound would evolve. And ultimately we get stuck with this 22-song tape that feels definitely too long. This suffers from that kind of Drake More Life thing where it's ultimately just way too long. The Scorpion issue where it just should have been cut in half, potentially. That's not to say that every song was bad or half the songs were bad. That's not the case. It just doesn't feel cohesive. So here are my thoughts track by track. Not very verbose on all of these because, again, this is a first impression. I just wanted to give you guys what I thought on first listen, because Coloring Book and Acid Rap on first listen blew me away. I was hoping the same would happen for this. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So let's dive in. And like I said, it's first impression, so I feel like things will grow on me. My first thing I'll say is that I'm very happy that Groceries, the track he released maybe a month ago, is not on this record. I did not like that track. Extremely poppy in a bad way and a different direction than the music I appreciate from Chance. But going into the actual album now, All Day Long is the bombastic kind of high production opener. It has a very similar feeling to All We Got, which was the opener to Coloring Book, in terms of just getting you really hyped up, but it gets you hyped up in a way that doesn't really pay off because the remainder of the album doesn't maintain that energy or trajectory at all. It kind of just goes on its own path, following all sorts of musical influences and really lacking that cohesion, like I was saying before. But it's a good song. It's a good opener. I have no real issues with it. What did shock me was Do You Remember, and this put a huge smile on my face, features Ben Gibbard, the lead singer of Death Cab for Cutie, which was unexpected, and fits in extremely well with the vibe of the song. It's one of Chance's kind of wistful, reminiscent songs, which is one of my favorite modes that Chance has as a rapper. It's a good song. I mean, I felt like progression-wise, it seemed like it should have come maybe in the second half of the album, closer to the end, but there's a lot more reminiscent stuff throughout the album, so it's kind of like a vibe that keeps going and keeps being cultivated. Eternal is a very good song to follow up that. It's almost like a laid-back Timbaland style beat from the early 2000s with this cool flow. It's a really good track. I gotta let's do it again, but first impression was that it was good. Then came a bad track, Hot Shower. I don't know what the hell Chance was going for here. He was rapping in a style that wasn't really his, over a beat that wasn't really great. It was like just some generic trap beat, and the flow almost felt like a parody of modern hip-hop today, at least the modern hip-hop that I think is bad. Overall, I did not enjoy this track, and it felt very out of character, and I felt like throughout the rest of the record, there were moments like that where things felt out of character for Chance. We Go High is a melancholy Chance singing track and a little bit of rapping. It's okay. I Got You Always and Forever was the first kind of interesting track after that gave me a little bit of pause. It has In Vogue on it, which is cool. So it has very classic kind of R&B vibes, but Chance's rapping almost sounds a bit like Danny Brown on this track, and it's not in a good way. I don't love Danny Brown. I know people obsess over him, and I think his features can be very good, but overall his rapping style is a bit jarring to me. I love him on the Avalanches, but you know, a full Danny Brown solo album is a marathon for me, and I don't know if I can handle it. Personally, I thought that a lot of this album felt like Chance imitating other rappers or their style, which I'll get into more in a bit. This is one of those tracks, but it was fine. Photo Ops was a skit. There's a couple skits on this record. None of them made any sense to me. Maybe I'm lacking context in his personal life, or maybe it was just for him and his friends and his family. But I thought the skits, I could do without skits in most rap albums. I mean, the majority of them are just kind of like filler to me. There's some classic ones from the 90s, but and early 2000s, but not really a skit guy. Rue is a really cool track. It's kind of like dark and brooding, and again, it's a standout, probably a top 5 on the album. Chance's rapping is definitely at the top of his game, and I thought it was a very good song. The Big Day is the self-titled song, the song that the album is named after, and it was a strange song to pick as that kind of like linchpin because there's not really rapping on it, which is fine. Ultimately, it was some interesting vocal bits and Chance singing, and it was fine to listen to. But towards the middle to the end, all this screaming started happening, where it was very jarring and uncomfortable to listen to. Ultimately, I did not enjoy that part of it. It was just a little off-putting and didn't really make a lot of sense. It felt like it was just to kind of shock the listener for no reason, and I don't know why this song is the song named after the album. Maybe because the album itself was a bit jarring in the sense that it wasn't what we expected the follow-up to Coloring Book to be, necessarily, and it was more of just what Chance wanted to do, which is fine. You know, I appreciate an artist kind of going with their gut, but yeah, let's move on to maybe my favorite song on the album, Let's Go on the Run. This is the first track on the album that feels like a classic Chance track. It's full of this upbeat adrenaline, kind of like islandy vibes, and something weird that I want to see if anyone else agrees with. If you do, leave a comment. The beat almost sounds a little bit like the Arthur theme song, which I know that Chance loves. He actually used to cover it in his shows. So if you guys hear that, let me know. But this is an amazing track, and this is kind of Chance flexing a new direction that I really, really appreciate, and I wish more of the album had this kind of confidence and vibe and energy, but it does not. Handsome feels like it could have been a Drake song. Listen to this song again and pretend Drake's rapping it and singing it. You're going to be like, yep, 100%. It was fine. It just isn't a good song for a Chance record, in my opinion. Big Fish was a pretty solid track. Again, maybe a top 5, definitely a top 7, 10. Gucci feature is good, but it's short-lived. Song's a good vibe, but ultimately unremarkable. Ballin' Flossin'. This is another good track, probably a top 5 for me. This is kind of the album kind of hits its stride in the middle, and then there are parts that are kind of around it that are question marks for me, which is why I feel like it should have been half the length. But Ballin' Flossin', the bass line sounds like it's almost trying to be Kanye's Fade, which I know Chance, I think, worked on that track maybe, or at least those sessions. So I wonder if it was in the back of his head or even just an homage to it, but the bass line sounds a lot like Fade. I think Gambino should have been on this track. I think it was a huge miss, first of all, to not have Kanye or Gambino on this album at all. I know that there's supposed to be a Chance Gambino project and then Good Ass Job, the 7-track with Kanye coming out. However, I do feel like this album could have used a feature from both of them just to kind of tease what we're in for, and I feel like it was a miss, and this is the track that I think Gambino would have crushed. Again, listen to it with that lens. Imagine Bino on the track. I think you would really appreciate it. But I do think this is one of the better songs so far at this point, and it's ripe for remixes. Next skit went over my head, as mentioned. 5-Year Plan is another song that feels like it's Chance just kind of being wistful and singing, but not really breaking any new ground. It feels like a Coloring Book song, but not really as good as the similar sounding songs from that era. Get a Bag is another classic, but watered down Chance track. It's fine. It's a good song. Again, maybe top 7. But Slide Around is a Nicki Minaj feature, which felt a little weird. Nicki's flow does not really fit with Chance's sound, in my opinion, especially with this album in particular. And it kind of solidifies my idea that Chance is kind of straying away from this kind of like acid rap, kind of cool, quirky thing he used to do, and more of like a radio-friendly, poppy vibe, which is fine if that's where he's going, but I feel like he's going to lose a lot of his day ones and diehards if that's the majority of his output moving forward. Sun Came Down, the next track, is a top 5, probably top 3. It's a beautiful song. This is one of the standouts of the album, and I would say that this song represents the best parts of the album. It's beautiful, Chance in his element. I just wish that the rest of the album, aside from one or two other tracks, carried that level of authenticity. Found a good one. Single No More is a song about how Chance loves his lady. It's a beautiful song in the sense of the theme, but ultimately there's no replayability for me. The ending's kind of frantic, which was a kind of cool change up, but again, it's fine. Town on the Hill, really beautiful production, another beautiful Chance singing track. I think some of the singing tracks won me over more than the rapping tracks because Chance didn't sound like he was really rapping like himself on this album. It sounded like he was experimenting but hadn't really settled on anything, which was not the confident Chance that we've come to love. The gospel Chance, any of that kind of Chance that we love, it just felt like we were just missing it a little bit. Could have been a cool way to end the album, but then we get another skit that's kind of pointless, and Zanies and Fools, which is a really pretty opening when then the beat comes in. It's a good outro. Chance sounds great, and it's a fine way to tie the album up with a bow. But then Chance decides to end it with the Nicki Minaj verse again. One of my biggest issues with this album is that where's No Name? Where's Saba? Where are all the people coming from Chicago killing it right now featured on this record? I mean, I fully expected Chance's first solo album to be star-studded with features of people that are genuinely people that helped him get to where he is, people that are in his league. Get the Saba, No Name, Bino, Kanye, get these features in there, but instead we get Nicki Minaj and Shawn Mendes. I don't know what to think about that. I just don't know what audience he's going for with this. I feel like my biggest thought is that Chance always had a magical quality with his music. There was something special about everything. And it was like his music was weird but accessible, and he went hard, but it was still sweet and endearing. And he was just extremely likable while maintaining this level of uniqueness in his music. And this album still showcases his artistic vision and his rapping chops. I mean, he's very talented, no one can deny that, but it doesn't feel cohesive, and it feels like it's just all over the place sonically, and ultimately I feel like it was a disappointment. It was poppier than I wanted it to be, but the biggest disappointment of that is that there isn't even a massive radio hit in there like No Problem. It's just kind of like it missed the mark it was going for, and that mark was what none of us expected or wanted. So I feel like a lot of people are going to defend this album because Chance stans are heavy when it comes to their protection of Chance. But ultimately, as a huge Chance fan for many, many years, this album was a misstep in my opinion. I think that it just felt all over the place, like I've said many times, and ultimately I was disappointed. So if I were to give this an arbitrary rating out of 10 on my first listen, I would give it a 6.5. None of it's bad, but very few of it, not even a phrase, very little of it is great. The great parts are great, and I'm definitely going to re-listen to those tracks, but I really have no desire to go back and listen to this massive 22-long song. It's just like, it's too much. You got to censor yourself. I don't know. This felt like a mixtape, to be completely honest. It didn't feel like it was tight, cohesive, and to the point like a first LP should be. But maybe I'm wrong. These are just my first impressions. I love Chance, so I will be listening to this again. Please do me a favor, leave a comment with your thoughts. Post your favorite songs, post your general thoughts about the album. I want to hear what your opinions are because these are just mine. I haven't really read anyone else's opinions, but hopefully you guys agree with me for the most part. But yeah, so I felt like I wanted to do a first impression. It's been a minute. Thank you for watching this video. Leave a like on the video if you liked it. Make sure you're subscribed to Too Many Records with your notifications turned on. There's some sweet TMR merch in the description if you go to that link, and more regular videos without my phone, with my camera, coming soon. I'll be situated in the new apartment in about a week and a half, 2 weeks, all settled in, and then the content will be flowing. So thank you guys so much. Hope you guys enjoy the Chance album, and if not, let me know what you think.